What's going on YouTube? On today's video I'm going to be talking about something that I had not seen anywhere talking about it on YouTube and on the reviews of this cables. Now the cables work. The problem with the cables it's that they are if you have a computer, not a computer, if you have a keyboard that's custom made or it's RGB and it has a USB type C port on it, for some odd reason when you plug this fancy and expensive coil cables, the RGB it's super dim to the point that it makes it look like you don't even have RGB on your keyboard, right? Which the non-expensive cable, the one that actually comes with your motherboard, I mean with your keyboard, it makes the keyboard light up like super nice. I mean, look at this one, right? This is so I bought this Anker USB A to USB Type C cable off of Amazon. I mean, it wasn't that expensive. It's like 10 bucks for this cable, which is like super cheap, and it comes with two USB A to USB Type C, and it's 6 feet long, which is pretty much then plenty what you would need for pretty much anything, but they do offer in a longer length if you actually do need it. But I want to show you guys the difference that a $50, $60, and a $45. I can't remember the exact prices, but I will add them in the link in the description below. By the way, don't get these cables. Just buy like a cheap cable off of Amazon or braid it yourself, or they sell like braided ones like this instead of being rubberized, how this one is. I will prefer getting those over something like this is. So I'm going to try to do this in one take so you guys can see that I am not switching cables. Now all these cables are actually plugged in directly into the computer. They're not going to an external USB extension cable, wire, whatever it may be, directly to the computer itself. So I want you guys to pay attention. So I'm going to zoom into the computer, into the keyboard itself. All right, let me move it around so you guys can see its center. So this is the cable that I have plugged in right now. It's a regular USB A to USB Type C. It carries about 15 watts of power if you were to charge any device. But let's unplug it so you guys can see. So the first contender is going to be the blue cable. This is a $60 or $50. I think it's a $50 coil cable from Amazon. Okay, plug it in. Let's go to the red color. All right, so that's the red color. Now you can go back and see the differences between this red and the initial red, right? So just for comparison, one more time, this is the $10 cable from Amazon from Anker. As soon as I can find the port, there you go. Okay, let's go to the red. Big differences, man. It's like night and day. Now, I didn't notice it until my daughter actually pointed it out. She kept telling me, why is my keyboard so dim, right? And I said to her, it's because I'm in the studio. In my studio, my photography studio, the lights are on all the time. I can dim them down if I want to, but when I'm here, the lights are pretty much on all the time. And this is as low as the lights can go. All right, round two. We're gonna use this other cable from Amazon as well. This is a $50 cable. All right, we're gonna plug it directly into the keyboard. Boom. We are gonna switch to the red profile. Again, super dim, right? Now I had left some really strong reviews on Amazon on these two cables, and I left the same review for the drop cable, right? Nobody has gotten back to me yet, so I don't know what the outcome is gonna be. But let's get ready for round three, right? My Anker $10 USB cable. Switch to the red profile. Bang. Look at that. Look at how much light I can actually, how much light spills, you know, all around. Look at this. Okay. So, let's plug in the $50 cable from Drop. Let's switch to the red profile. Boom. Look at that. You can barely see the light in my hands. You see that? You can barely see it. And I'm basically about the same distance as I was with my $10 Anker cable. And by the way, the same thing happens with this cable, and the same thing happens with the cable from my PS5. So my question is, or my dilemma is, if you're gonna buy a $50 coil cable just because it looks cool, if you don't care about RGB or anything like that, you know, that's fine, right? It still transfers the data from the keyboard, the strokes or whatever it may be. When you type it in, there's no delay or anything like that. But if you bought a keyboard or you custom made a keyboard that has per RGB, you know, lighting on every key, and it looks this dim, would you be satisfied? Ask yourself that question first. Let's plug in the $10 cable. And we're gonna switch to the red again. Boom, look at this. Look at how much light spills. Same distance. I don't know about you guys though, but that's a problem, right? You know, spending all this money. Sorry, camera's moving. You're spending all this money on a fancy coil cable with, you know, aviator connectors, and it looks fancy on your desk and whatnot. Because don't get me wrong, it look fancy. You know, I mean, look at this. Let me unplug it. I mean, these are some fancy cables though. I mean, it comes with a nice fancy connector, right? These are nice, these are cool. But the problem is that it does not make your keyboard look any brighter. As a matter of fact, it dims it down. So these are fancy cables though. I personally wouldn't recommend them. So what I went ahead and did, it's I use for my daughter, she using her the cable that came with her keyboard, right? This free cable that comes in the box with your keyboard, and that's what she's using. You know, I went ahead and, because these cables are kind of short, right? So I went ahead and ordered a 6.5 foot just regular cable to plug the keyboard, and that's how I'm going to use it. And you may be saying, oh, maybe because the keycaps are see-through that is super bright. Well, let's take a look at that. This is another custom build that I made. Okay, we're gonna switch to the red profile. Boom, look at this. Right? Look at this light spill. And just for measures, let's test the $50 cable. This is gonna be more embarrassing, by the way. Go back to the red profile. Look at that. Can you tell there's any RGB in here? Keep in mind that these keycaps are like M3, so they're like super thick, right? So there's no shine through or anything like that. But at the same time, when I plug in my $10 cable, I can tell this RGB. Red, look at this. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see that. Boom. Oh, let me go back a little bit. All right. Let me just plug in a $50 cable one more time. Switch to the red profile. Look at that. It's like there's no RGB. Let's plug in the blue cable just so you can see that I'm not pulling a fast one. We'll switch to the red profile. Look at that. No RGB. There's no RGB on this keyboard. Right? Versus my $10 cable. Boom. Look at all that goodness. RGB lighting. Now, you need to ask yourself, right? How much money do I want to spend on custom cables? Right? So, I don't know about you guys though, but these fancy cables, or maybe they're defective. I don't know. But all three cables do the exact same thing. You know, I mean, are these cables defective? Is that what you're telling me? And if that is the case, right? Let me unplug these. And if this is the case, right? Are you telling me that so much of a coincidence that all three cables are defective? Right? If this is the case, then I don't know, manufacturers, you have some quality control issues that I need to resolve. But that's my finding, guys. I can't return them anymore due to the fact that I'm already past the return policy from Amazon and Drop. So what I'm going to use them for is to charge my PS5 cables. So I guess they're not going to be completely useless. You know, I'm going to have a really fancy USB A to USB-C cable charging my PS5. So that's what they're going to be used for. Look at this fancy cables. Look at this fanciness just to charge my PS5 controller. That's awesome. By the way, some of them do come in a fancy case like this, but it's not everything though. But anyway, guys, I don't know if you guys want to run the same test. If you have these coil cables, try to use a $10 cable that you got from Amazon, or the cable that came in your case with your keyboard, and try that, and maybe you get the same results as I did. But I was super shocked and pissed off at the same time, because when you spend all this much money on cables, right, and they suck, because these cables suck balls, you are going to be on the same boat as I am, upset because you wasted your money, you know, on something that you thought it was going to be good. But just because it looks fancy, it doesn't mean that it's good. But anyway, guys, if you like to see what these products are, I am going to include them in the description below. Not that I will recommend for you to purchase them, because they're just not that good. You know, just stick to like a $10 cable that you can buy from Amazon, and use that as your connection for your custom keyboard. But as of now, I would never recommend these cables. Maybe because I'm having a better experience with them, but I wouldn't even, I'll put it this way, I would steer away from these cables as it is. But anyway, guys, until the next video, please stay safe, be well. I'll see you on the next one. And again, guys, if you have any comments, please write them in a comment section below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you guys. Or any feedback that you guys have for me so I can improve my content, I'll appreciate it. Later, guys. Be well.